What's up, guys? I want to tell you about a knife. It's my first ZT zero tolerance knife. ZT is a sister company of a very popular knife brand called Kershaw. Kershaw is part of Kai USA, KAI, which is part of Kai Group out of Tokyo, Japan. It's been around over 100 years, Kai Group has. And they have all kinds of products. But this is from Kai USA or ZT, Zero Tolerance. They had a lot of different brands, and I'm trying to branch out and get different knife manufacturers and different brands, and I think it gives me a better perspective of what's out there, especially when I speak to people. I want to be able to say, I held that knife, I used that knife, and this is what I think of it. Not, I read about it and I heard it's okay, so I think it's okay. All right, if that makes sense. So, this is some of the packaging it comes in. Although ZT, when they came out, they said they wanted to make higher end, hard use, better material knives, and I think they have for the most part. They package it as if it were a fledgling bird. That's customer care. So you get a perfect knife in the mail, and I did. A little bit of literature, a lot of literature actually. They want to tell you about how to open your knife, how to close your knife, pocket clips, and I like the literature. I do. Maintenance, oiling, blade coatings, and sharpening. As you can see, mine's pretty sharp. I've been using it for about a month, and I did sharpen it at between these two, which is what it says. It is critical to maintain the correct blade angle between 18 and 22 degrees while sharpening the blade. I used Spyderco SharpMaker at 20 degrees per side, and as you saw, it's pretty, I mean, I was kind of messing around, but it's very sharp, very sharp. It says, a real beast, proudly overbuilt in the USA. So American workers are putting that together. That's cool. Go bold. Proudly overbuilt, all that good stuff. And here's what we got. The ZT-0452 CF Dmitry Sinkovich design S35 VN steel. Carbon fiber handle, meaning singular, one side, folder. Okay, let's take a look. So as soon as I pulled it out of the package, I couldn't get it open. I was kind of embarrassed or whatever. I mean, I couldn't get it open. And I am a knife person. I want to say I'm a knife person. I have a lot of knives. I have frame locks. I have liner locks. And my thumb was just slightly touching this lock bar. I mean, just slightly, and it will not budge. It has a very deep detent ball and lock, and it is a big blade, and that's why. Apparently, it's common in ZTs to have a very strong detent, and when you have a big blade like this, you don't want this thing opening in your pocket, because this is a true razor blade, and it will injure you, folks. So, it was a complaint, and I'm over it because some people online said there was a break-in period. So, I mean, over the last month, I opened this thing just 400 times. You know, I walk to the barn to feed the horses, and I just keep opening this thing. I also, a couple nights, just kept hitting the detent over and over and over and over and over, trying to wear it out a little bit or something, because it was just so strong. You can actually see the detent hole right there. It's very deep. And then the other part is right here, and it presses into the blade, and you can hear it. It's very solid detent. That blade's not going anywhere, okay? Hopefully you guys can get a good view of that. Let's try this side. Very solid. Okay, so we have a solid piece of carbon fiber. We have a solid titanium scale right here, I guess, with a lock bar. A little flare on the pivot there. A little fancy schmancy. That's fine. That's not too much. It's not too much. This is a ball bearing pivot. So the action on this thing, as you can tell, is incredible. I've shown a couple people this knife, and I always open it before I hand it to them, and then I close it and hand it to them, just so they can see what it's capable of. Because I've probably handed this to 10 people in the last month. I would say 90% of the people grab it and do the same thing I did. How do you get this? There's no thumb studs or anything. Like, how do you get this open? I know it's a flipper, but I can't flip it. So I always, I show them the knife and then I hand it to them. And I'm like, it does work. But it takes some getting used to. So the detent was outrageous, and that was an initial complaint of mine. I think I've gotten over that, and I do believe there is a break-in period for this knife. Another con of this knife is I was walking back to the barn to feed the horses, and it was cold outside, and I had insulated leather Carhartt gloves, and I could not open the knife. Any way that I possibly tried, I could not open the knife with gloves. And that's a test that a lot of people do because it's real life application. It does get cold outside depending on where you live. And sometimes it's good to be able to open your knife. If me or my dog or the horses or something was in an emergency and I needed to cut something and I had gloves on and I couldn't open it, that'd be a problem. So I ended up making sure the glove was away from the lock bar and then like pressing it with my thumb or so. It was just kind of weird. So if you do work with gloves a lot and you plan on using this knife, I wouldn't get this knife if you're going to have gloves on. I love this knife and I will not sell it. I think it's a work of art. It's amazing material. It's very strong and tough, and I will use it for the rest of my life. But if I have gloves on, I probably won't grab this knife. Okay. Another con to the knife, and I just want to tell you all around, most of it's good. Most of it's good. But some things frustrated me. This is what it looked like when I got it, ZT, the pocket clip. Okay, this is the factory. It's very short, which looked like a small knife in your pocket, which I thought was a nice touch. But if we look from the side, I want to show you something. On the right-hand side is the factory pocket clip. On the left-hand side is the aftermarket one that I bought from MXG Gear. The one on the left is very deep carry. The one on the right is not totally deep carry. The one on the left will allow the top of your pocket to go to the top of the clip. The one on the left is from the factory, and it will not allow your pocket to go all the way to the top of the pocket clip. It will not allow your pocket in a pocket clip. I know I sound like I'm being a smart aleck, which I am, but let's talk about the price here. Price point, $220. And I can't put my pocket all the way in the pocket clip. I don't know. I was frustrated with that. So I just took action. I got an aftermarket one. It's beautiful. It's a little bit longer. My pocket goes to the very top of this thing. Screws are not in the way. Of course, I have it on the left-hand side here because it goes into my pocket like this, like I've shown in other videos. My hand goes like this. This is a very large knife, but it fits in my pocket perfect. So you are looking at a 4.1 inch blade, 5.2 inch handle, 9.3 inches overall. Very large knife, okay? Ontario Rat 1, okay? Best budget knife ever made. If you or your friends need a budget knife that is dependable, Ontario Rat 1, like $35-40. Get it. And then another S35 VN, the Chris Reeve Umnenzan. So these have the same steel. S35 is a very, very good steel. It will not corrode or oxidate as fast as other steels. It will hold its edge. It's still manageable. You could still sharpen it without a $2,000 sharpening system. And then I have to bust it out. I have to, fresh off the press. I just got this today. My friend Audrey at Mid-America Arms in St. Louis put this aside for me. Thank you, Audrey. Shout out. Beautiful Benchmade 560-1, 560-1 Freak. This is the upgraded steel and scales. So in the knife community, we call this the Super Freak. Beautiful knife. And I'll be doing a review on this next probably. I want to carry it and cut things and do a good review. Okay. And with that being said, because of the price point that I told you, $220, I was very, very critical of this knife, and I carried it a lot, and I wanted to use it a lot because of the price. I feel like if it's more expensive, I need to be more critical of it, you know. It feels great in the hand. Once you have it open, it's very, very comfortable. The jimping is not, you know, very aggressive, but it works perfect. At first, when I looked at it, I thought the top of the blade was very thin. The point was reinforced, which I love, but it actually gets real thick right here in the mid-spine. So it's just cut out a little bit, but it's very, very strong. There is no movement at all out of the box from the factory. Razor sharp, shave your hair. No movement in the blade, which I love. I did take this apart because I told you I was having issues with the deployment and with the detent, and I thought maybe I could lube up the ball bearings. So on each side of this, there's a free spinning pivot and then ball bearings on each side. I didn't count them, but I took it apart. I did lube it up with oil, and then I opened it and closed it 500 times in the last month. And I would have to say this thing works better today than it did when I took it out of the box. Okay, I hit my hand there. But it is an awesome knife. Look at that. Barely touched my hand. Apostle P on YouTube is a popular YouTube channel. Also Nick Shabazz. I'm sure you guys, if you guys are into knives, you've seen those two. They both cut their hand with this knife. Think of how many knives that those people hold, and they both cut their hands with this knife. And guess what? I'm in the club now, live on YouTube. But anyway, it is a freaking razor blade, guys. So you do have to be very careful, as with any knife. But overall, I'm very happy with it. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to sell it. I have some smaller Benchmades and stuff like that I'm going to sell because I just don't like a small knife. I don't feel comfortable with it in my hand or deploying it. But I just wanted to show you what I did. I oiled the bearings. I got the pocket clip. If I am wearing gloves all day, I probably won't carry this knife. Otherwise, it's beautiful. It's classy. It's very tough. I mean, it's all around. It's just an awesome, awesome knife. And I recommend it depending on, you know, your preference, of course, and your use. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned for next time. I'm probably going to be doing my next review on the Benchmade 560-1 Freak or Super Freak. And just remember, as always, like Apostle P and Nick Shabazz said, watch that blade. It's a razor. Take care, guys.